All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the September Office of Emergency Preparedness Lunch and Learn presentation. Today, our topic is food safety during an emergency. And with us today is Jessica Clemencic. She is the Food Safety Quality Assurance Coordinator with the Office of Environmental Health here at the Virginia Department of Health. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her to present. And if anybody's interested, we will have a recording posted on the OEP webpage later after the presentation. Jessica, over to you.
Thank you, Susie. Appreciate you. This morning, I'm going to talk about food safety during emergencies. And on this screen is a slide that I suggest you bookmark these emergency preparedness websites. We're going to focus on the bottom 4 bullets today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this fact sheet, keeping food safe during emergencies. September is National Preparedness Month, and National Preparedness Month is the annual campaign to remind everyone that preparing for emergencies and disasters can keep you and your families safe. I'm going to walk you through this fact sheet, which is posted on the USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service website, and that's FSIS. So knowing how to keep your food safe and how to determine if your food is safe will help minimize the potential loss of food and reduce your risk of foodborne illness during an emergency. Regardless of the type of emergency, it's best to plan ahead. So keep shelf-stable foods on hand, such as boxed or canned milk, bottled water, and canned goods, as well as some ready-to-eat foods that don't require cooking or cooling. If you live in a location prone to flooding, store your food on shelves that will be safe from contaminated water. And if possible, raise your refrigerators and freezers up off the floor by using cement blocks or other pieces of equipment to place under each corner. Keep a thermometer inside your refrigerator. The best placement is inside the door, since that is the warmest part of your refrigerator. Your refrigerator should hold food at or below 40 degrees. So as long as the refrigerator thermometer is reading 40, we know that your food is being held at 40 or below. Make sure you also have a food thermometer. They come in many shapes and sizes and forms and can be found at your hardware store, Target, Walmart, even grocery stores. The thermometer will come in handy after a power outage, and you'll use it to make sure your food items are at or below 40 degrees. Have plenty of ice packs or freeze water in containers or bags to help keep food cold in the freezer, in your refrigerator, and in your coolers if you're using them. You can freeze refrigerated items that you may not need immediately to help keep them at a safe temperature longer. Group food together in the freezer because this helps the food stay cold longer. You can also consider getting dry ice. 25 pounds of dry ice will keep a 10 cubic foot freezer below freezing for 3 to 4 days, but you want to make sure the dry ice does not come in contact with your skin or with your food. You need to use care when handling dry ice. Wear dry, heavy gloves to avoid injury. During a power outage, keep the refrigerator and freezer doors closed. Refrigerators will keep cold food about 4 hours, and that's unopened. So minimizing opening and closing the door is key to keeping your food cold longer. A full freezer will hold temperatures for about 48 hours and 24 hours if it's half full, but remember, keep the door closed. If the power has been out for several days, check the temperature of the freezer by using an appliance thermometer or food thermometer. If the food still contains ice crystals or is registering 40 degrees or below, then the food is safe. If you didn't have a thermometer inside the freezer, check each package of food to determine its safety. If the food still contains ice crystals, the food is safe. After a power outage, discard any perishable foods that are not registering 40 degrees or below on your food thermometer, but the golden rule is when in doubt, throw it out. Now, if you've been impacted by flooding, do not eat any food that may have come into contact with floodwater. Discard food that is not in waterproof containers if there's any chance that it has come into contact with floodwater. It's interesting to know that food containers that are not waterproof include those with screw caps, snap lids, pull tops, and crimped caps. Discard bottled water, food in cardboard boxes such as milk, juice, baby formula, and home canned foods if they have come into contact with floodwater, since they cannot be effectively cleaned and sanitized. Inspect canned foods and discard any food in damaged cans. Signs of damage may include swelling, leakage, punctures, holes, fractures, extensive deep rusting, severe enough to prevent normal stacking or opening with a manual wheel type can opener. Undamaged commercially prepared foods in all metal cans and retort pouches, such as the flexible, shelf-stable products you find, juice or tuna and salmon, those can be saved by following some easy steps. Remove the labels if possible, since they can harbor dirt and bacteria. Wash the cans or pouches with soap and water, preferably hot if available. Brush or wipe away any dirt or silt. Rinse the cans or pouches with water that is safe for drinking. Dirt or residual soap will reduce the effectiveness of chlorine sanitation. Sanitize them by immersion in one of two ways. First, you can place it in water and allow the water to come to a boil for 2 minutes. Or you can place them in a freshly made solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach per gallon of drinking water for 15 minutes. Then you'll allow them to air dry for a minimum of 1 hour before opening or storing. Relabel the cans or pouches with a marker and include the use by date if you have that available. And you'll want to use this reconditioned food first and as soon as possible. Clean exposed cookware and utensils by washing with soap and hot water if available. Rinse and then sanitize by boiling 2 minutes in clean water or immersing them in a solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach per gallon of drinking water for 15 minutes. Clean exposed countertops with soap and water. Rinse and then sanitize them by applying a solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach per gallon of drinking water. If you've been impacted by fire, discard all food that has been near a fire. Food exposed to fire can be damaged by the heat of the fire, smoke, fumes, and the chemicals used to fight the fire. These fumes and chemicals cannot be washed off. And these foods include foods stored outside of the refrigerator, like breads, fruits, and vegetables, raw food, or food stored in permeable packaging, such as cardboard and plastic wrap. Foods stored in a refrigerator or freezer also may not be safe because refrigerator seals are not airtight and fumes can get inside. Sanitize your cookware exposed to firefighting chemicals by washing in soap and hot water, then submerge them for 15 minutes in a solution of 1 tablespoon of unscented liquid chlorine bleach per gallon of drinking water. Now I want to focus on the page on the screen. There are some frequently asked questions that you will find and can review. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but I do just want to point out this first question A snowstorm knocked down the power lines. Can I put the food from the refrigerator and freezer out in the snow? We say no because frozen food can thaw if it is exposed to the sun's rays, even when the temperature is very cold. Refrigerated food may become too warm and foodborne bacteria could grow. The outside temperature could vary by hour, and the temperature outside will not protect refrigerated and frozen food. Additionally, perishable items could be exposed to unsanitary conditions or to animals, and animals may harbor bacteria or disease. So you should never consume food that has come in contact with an animal. Rather than putting the food outside, consider taking advantage of the cold temperatures by making ice. You can fill buckets, empty milk cartons or cans with water, and leave them outside to freeze. Then you put the homemade ice in your refrigerator, freezer, or cooler. I know I said a lot about sanitizing, and you can find that information here by clicking on these tabs. And here are the steps to salvage all your metal cans and retort pouches. The other question I'd like to click on is also a popular question. It is, may I refreeze the food in the freezer if thawed or partially thawed? And this question comes up a lot. The answer is yes. The food may be safely refrozen if the food still contains ice crystals or is at 40 degrees or below. You will have to evaluate each item separately. Be sure to discard any items in either the freezer or the refrigerator that have come into contact with raw meat juices. Partial thawing and freezing may reduce the quality of some of the food, but the food will remain safe to eat. And then it says, see the attached charts for specific recommendations, which we'll just briefly go through. But it is a popular question just because people think or are told by maybe the manufacturers that once you thaw a frozen food, you should not refreeze it. It is not a food safety concern. It is a quality concern. Your texture might be off. There might be additional water added, so it's going to taste a little funky, or not funky, but not what it would originally taste like. So a lot of manufacturers don't want you refreezing because they don't want you to think that it's their fault, that the food quality is not good. So when to save and when to throw it out. These charts go over refrigerated foods and frozen foods. And you'll notice that it says held above 40 degrees for over 2 hours. The majority of foods on this chart are going to be discarded. That's your proteins such as meat, poultry, seafood, dairy, eggs. Some things that you can keep are your hard cheeses, also your grated Parmesan Romano cheeses, butter and margarine, fruit juices that are opened, canned fruits that are opened, peanut butter, your Worcestershire, soy, and barbecue and hoisin sauces. So you can use this list to kind of help you determine what's safe to keep and what's safe to discard. Now we have freezer foods that are listed. And here we have 2 columns. Contain ice crystals and feels as cold as it is refrigerated, then you can refreeze based on this chart. But please note, you'll lose texture and flavor loss for some of these items. Also, if it's been thawed and held above 40 degrees for over 2 hours, the majority of these items are going to be discarded, with your exception of hard cheeses, fruit juices, and then your grains such as flour, cornmeal, nuts. Now I want to switch to this printable brochure. This printable brochure basically has the same information that is on the fact sheet that I shared earlier. And I do recommend that you print it just in case you lose internet when you lose power. You'll have this brochure handy. It goes through the refrigerated foods extensively and also goes through your power outages and steps to follow. Talks about food safety and flood waters, and how to make your sanitizer with your bleach and water. And the general rule for what you should throw out is going to be your meat, poultry, seafood products, soft cheeses, your dairy, your eggs, opened baby formula, dough and cooked pasta, and then cooked or cut produce. The ready.gov website also has an enormous amount of information on all kinds of disasters. This is a good site that talks about the different types of disasters and emergencies that are out there. There is some food safety information on each of these tabs. For instance, let's click on power outages. And when we click on power outages, we get power outage tips, how to protect yourself during a power outage, generator safety, which is a big concern, and then what to do once your power's been returned. This site also has a Make a Plan page, and you can go to the Make a Plan page and find an enormous amount of information on planning ahead for emergencies. I'd like to also show that it tells you how to build a kit or put a kit together, and has recommended emergency supplies. And these are your basic disaster supply kit with additional emergency supplies recommended. There's also a food supply recommendation. So we just clicked on food, and you'll see that there are suggested emergency food supplies. I think the general rule is store at least 3 days worth of non-perishable foods, and make considerations for your pets. So here are some of the recommended food items to keep on hand. And then there's also food safety and sanitation do's and don'ts. It talks about cooking and alternative cooking processes, and then managing food without power, with a little information on dry ice. Next, I want to show you the CDC bookmark that was on the slide. And again, there is plenty of information on natural disasters and severe weather. I want to focus on cleaning safely after disaster. This is general guidelines for cleaning and cleaning safely after a disaster. There are general safety tips like what you should wear to protect yourself when you're cleaning. Just reminders on how to keep yourself safe when you're moving heavy objects. And know that when you face a disaster or emergency, cleaning is not going to occur at the snap of a finger. So you need to pace yourself and be safe. There's even reminders on being careful when you're using a chainsaw, a pressure washer, flood water. And this is a big one that the health department gets a lot. We get a lot of questions on mold, particularly who handles mold cases. The health department does not handle mold. There are just no recommended or recognized safety thresholds for what is considered unsafe. So we always recommend you to speak with a mold professional. But when you're cleaning up mold, you can find how to clean up mold on this website, and it's basically, again, using that mix of bleach and water. And there are safety tips when you're using bleach. Don't use it with other chemicals. There's also information on a boil water advisory that goes into effect in how you can make your water safe for personal hygiene use. Then I want to focus on cleaning and sanitizing with bleach. So we're going to click on this page here. And this page has everything you need to know how to make your bleach solution at home. So following your safety instructions, here are the steps for cleaning and sanitizing. And then it's broken down how to clean food cans and surfaces, how to clean food cans that are not bulging. And you can see that the tablespoon of bleach to a gallon is pretty much the same, with the exception here, this is 1 cup to 5 gallons of water for food cans not bulging. And then this talks about household surfaces and items and mold growth. So with that, I am happy to have some questions, answer some questions for everybody.